Awesome. Thank you so much. So I am super honored to get to talk to Cynthia today. We had a chance to catch up a couple of days ago, and I think you'll all be really interested in hearing what she has to say. So just to quickly introduce myself, my name is Krista Shackelford, and I lead our U.S. sales team at Samba TV. For those of you that don't know Samba, we are a global TV data company with access to over 35 million TVs across the world, with one of the most representative and largest TV data panels. And we help our advertisers with both targeting and measurement to get the most out of their media campaigns. But being a woman in marketing, I don't think that there's anyone better selfishly to talk about this than Cynthia. So Cynthia, would love for you to quickly introduce yourself and tell everyone about your role at RB.
Absolutely. I'm so honored to be here. I am running, we call that upper respiratory, OTC, but also sexual well-being, which is a very fun brand to work on. So the brands I have are Mucinex, Delsem, KY, Durex, and many more.
Wonderful. So you didn't get here overnight. So I think the audience would love to hear, you've had an impressive background across CPG and pharma. But what I found most interesting in talking to you earlier this week was how you balance both your personal life and professional life. So tell us about your journey and how you got to where you are today, if you can do it quickly.
Absolutely. Journey has been very long. After our conversation, I actually went back and thinking that what are the interesting tidbits? You're absolutely right. The first one is my personal and professional life is really intertwined. So I would say that I moved for my love, for my mom, for my family. To me is that the most important thing is being happy in life. And, the happiness is not about the career title. As a matter of fact, I was reading this article. They were talking about since 1938, Harvard University was doing this study, and they found out exactly confirmed what I was thinking. The relationship with your friends, with your parents, with your kids, with your significant others and colleagues are the most important thing to get to happiness. It is not title, it's not the money. And, I'm so glad that, my career is intertwined with my personal life. And this is, I guess that, because of my personal life, I'm pretty happy. As a result, I was able to get here. So that's the one interesting tidbit. There are a few others. Then the second piece is that I look at myself. People will ask me, where are you from? Now my answer is that I'm actually global. So I worked in so many different countries. I traveled to 57 different countries, although I would not say I really traveled, because most of the time I was hotel, airport, and office. But what I'm really proud to say is, in my previous history, I have been running two biggest economies in the world, being United States and China. But also, I'm a boomerang. I'm boomerang back to General Mills, but also RB, now RB. For both companies, I used to work before, and now I'm back. So my last job, I was in China. I was CEO running General Mills China. Now I'm back to RB. And the fourth one is, people always ask me, say, hey, how did you moved up? I think that one of the things is also because taking risk. And a lot of times, you get a lateral move or, uncertain kind of assignments. And I would say that when you are provided a door, just go through that. And that is, one of the things that I always tell my team. And this is why I think one of the key reasons why I get to today. And last but not least is I was fortunate enough. Most bosses I worked for were super, super great, and they have been a helper in my life. So I learned so much from all the people, particularly my bosses. I determined that, I'm going to be a helper myself. So those are the, if you want to ask me more questions in my career, I can certainly tell you more. But I would say that these are 5 things probably most interesting to the audiences who are listening to.
Yeah, I think that being a helper is so key, and especially at a time like this, and I'm jumping around a little bit, but, being a helper in this industry and everything going on with COVID-19, what are you personally doing to help lift others up now more than ever?
Yeah, you are absolutely right. The latest data we saw that, the unemployment rate is over 15%. And people even say that depending on what statistics you're looking at, it could be as high as 30%. So if you take in that consideration, being a helper, that's my narrative. I am trying to help as many people as possible. And last week, for instance, I posted on LinkedIn, what I said is whoever worked with me, because I cannot vouch for people that I don't know. Whoever worked with me in the past, if you want me to connect you with a company that you're interested, if you have recently, got laid off or furloughed, I'm happy to write a recommendation and connecting you, or just to simply have a call. For instance, Friday, now we started at RB, we started half-day Friday, because we realized that people working from home is very difficult. So we started a summer Friday earlier. So every Friday we only have to work for half a day. So that's in the afternoon, I spend the entire afternoon just talking to people. And for instance, this Friday, I'm talking to 7 different groups of people, just trying to help.
That is so amazing and really inspiring. I think, something that words to live by. I don't know if you've ever read the book, The Go-Giver, but giving back is so fulfilling. And like you said, it's more than your title. It's more than how much money you make. But really being able to give back is what really makes an impact. So I truly applaud you for that. Tell me, what are the 2 beliefs or mantras that you live by?
A lot of mantras, actually, over the years, acquired so many. But if top of my mind, from my personal life standpoint, is it's actually not personal, but both personal and professional life is, if you live up to 82 years, we only had 30,000 days, and this becomes even more vivid after my mom passed away. So if you think about that, you're a certain age, how many days do you actually work? Right. So I want to make sure that every day I come to work, despite the fact that we're working from home now, and make it count. And the second piece is that always be a helper. Right. So I could not stress enough about being a helper. But then from work standpoint, is also building a team. And you and me, Krista, you and me, we had a great conversation. And we both agree is that in order to build a great place to work, the most important thing is to build trust. As a matter of fact, we in China, when I was running General Mills China, we came up with this term. I don't know how many Chinese in the audience is, but in English, we translate into trust is powerful growth. Without that, you will never get to sustainable growth. So everywhere I go, every job I go to, the first thing I do, I spend most of the time is really trying to build a trust, starting with the leadership team and then trickles down. Every single level. And you want to quickly build that trust throughout the organization, and then you will see the transformational change. And that's what we did almost every single job I went to. And last job, at General Mills, within 18 months' time, because the trust we built from the leadership down all the way through the organization, we were able to turn around the business within 18 months' time.
That's amazing. And I couldn't agree more, because what I found myself is trust empowers people to do their best work, because they feel free, they feel confident, and they can really take the reins and execute, of course, with guidance and coaching along the way and the right vision. But I couldn't agree more on building that trust. So what are some tips that you might have for the audience on how they can inspire and build trust with their teams?
I would say that's not rocket science, right? So I would summarize into 3 to 5 points. The first one is having this, continuous communication. If you keep everything to yourself, nobody knows what you're thinking. The second piece is do what you preach, right? So you should do what you say and be consistent about that. And that's the way to build credibility. And number 3 is that being honest. And number 4 is also show your feelings. I would say that one that I learned in the past is learning how to be vulnerable. Vulnerability is not it's not being weak. It's being real, because we are people. We are not robots. So even as a leader, no matter how you are up there, show your feeling, be a real person, show vulnerability. And last but not least, we can only win together. No matter how small we are, without a team, you're just as good as your team, right? But ultimately, you want to help your team to win. And again, comes back to that one word, be a helper.
I love it. I couldn't agree more. And those are really tangible examples that people can use and implement. And at the end of the day, we're all human beings, right? We want to be treated and respected.
That's right.
And I think that's important. And I think as female leaders, inspiring trust I think it's important whether you're female or male. Like, that's an important ingredient no matter what your gender is. So what kind of pivoting a little bit and to talk a little bit about what you're doing in your role. So COVID everybody knows it's going on right now. So how is RB approaching marketing right now during COVID?
So I would say that early on, I forgot to mention one thing, why I boomerang back to RB. Obviously, I had to come back to the United States, that's one. And the other thing is also the people that I met, wonderful. I have a lot of colleagues when I was really younger at RB, they are still here. But also there's this one very important ingredient why I came back. It was because RB we are a purposeful company. We use our new global CEO, and he will say that, we are in a relentless pursuit of a healthy and cleaner world. We happen to be in a sector where our brands are really purposeful, right? So ranging from Lysol, we need to use that, to Airborne, to OTC brands, even to sexual well-being, Durex and KY. So these are the brands is really taking care of you from basic needs to self-care. So it's a purposeful company. And when COVID hits, very, very quickly, we rallied around the company and we donated 32 million pounds to help with COVID. And we call that the Fight for Access Fund. Now, specifically, when it comes to my brands, what we have done, if you think about pandemic, there are 5 stages. The second stage is really panic. And this is where you see people hoarding all the toilet paper. People fight for toilet paper in the grocery stores, which is still mind-blowing to me. So a lot of rumors were happening at that time. So Mucinex actually came up with a PSA, which is a public announcement, announcement kind of copy. It's not about a product. It's not about selling our product. It's simply about spreading facts, not fear. Because when you're in panic, people just, lots of rumors coming out, and people are so scared. And now we're getting into the 4th stage, which is we all have been staying at home for more than 2 months' time. We all get stressed out. Even me, get stressed out because I'm on the call all the time, stuck in this 1-bedroom apartment. And the setup I'm talking to you now is actually broadcast, live stream from my bedroom. So you get boring, right? But we do know that the social distancing, staying home may be boring, but actually, you could be a hero. So we came up with this new ad. It's called Be a Hero, Be Boring. So I don't know whether you guys have seen that, but I certainly, if you have not, check out my LinkedIn or look at my, the blog post from our talent agency in McCann, New York.
Amazing. Yes, that's really helpful. And I would love to know, how do you think COVID will actually shape our industry? Like, what is your prediction post-COVID?
There's so many things going on, actually. So if you think about it, so I would say that, there's one thing really stand out is the digital transformation, right? So digital transformation actually is not new topic that we're talking about. It has been happening for the last 10, 15 years. However, it is about speed that the transformation is happening. I would call that a digital reset, or even go further out, call that Industry Revolution 4.0. Right, so we probably all seen this meme floating around on the internet. They were asking us the question, say, who's actually control the digital transformation? Is that your CEO? Is that your CDO? Or it's COVID? It's actually COVID that really speed up the digital transformation. Now, within digital transformation, there are 3 areas as a marketeer we must know. The first one is a speed to commerce. It's not only e-commerce. It's not a typical you're thinking about the Amazon or click and collect, Walmart.com, but it's also about the cross-border commerce, also about the, your own DTC, but also social commerce. One of the interesting ideas about social commerce is how you actually can convert every single social touch point to become the transaction, right? So that's one thing we absolutely need to be very quickly get onto. The second piece is because of COVID, a lot of people lost their jobs. As a matter of fact, the GDP came down more than 4%, and the prediction is a recession probably will last, a minimum of 3 quarters, maybe even up to a few years. As a result, you see a lot of people actually during the lockdown, they tried lots of new products, lots of new brands, including lots of private labels. So the question is that how do you actually win against private label? And the thing we believe is really building this loyalty and purpose. Right. So for instance, in the lockdown, we cannot be tone deaf. We have to be thinking from consumer needs standpoint, not selling the product, but rather being a helper and help them solve the issue and provide utility, but also empathy. The third piece in our sector specifically is digital health becomes such a big trend. Before COVID, digital health in the United States penetration is about 11%. But in China, for instance, already 24%. So post-COVID, our projection is absolute digital health will be so much bigger. I actually just did the first consultation with my doctor over Zoom, which was really eye-opening. So those are the 3 things around the reset. The second piece is also about self-care. And this is a time that, we are returning to the basic needs. If you think about needs pyramid, the second layer is about safety, right? It's about how do you take care of yourself? How do you, take care of your physical needs, but also sexual needs, everything, right? So self-care becomes a really, really big topic. So those are the things that I think will be really impacting the entire sector. Actually, not only our sector, but across all the sectors within CPG.
I couldn't agree more. The digital transformation, I couldn't agree more with. Especially, we're hearing from marketers today that going into this next television upfront, that it'll actually be down 30%. So for a CPG brand, you guys are big TV advertisers. Would love to know how RB is looking at the TV upfront and how you think that might change for other verticals outside of CPG.
For us, we actually believe that in order to build this purpose-driven brand, we will not cut back. We actually will maintain or even, increase. Now, the question is, where do you spend? We all, the projections that most of people will still stay at home at least until September and maybe even, end of this year. So we probably will shift more money to the digital and commerce, which should not be a surprise to everyone here listening in. And for us, the upfront is about changing the vehicle, changing the touch points, but at the same time, cash is a king, right? So cash flow and flexibility and liquidity, it's top of my mind. And that's for me personally, for my portfolio standpoint. I'm actually interested to hear other, CPG brands, other marketeers, what are the thoughts on their mind.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. We're hearing a lot across the industry, and Samba, we work with a variety of verticals that they're looking for that flexibility because, with the upfront it's harder to be flexible and more nimble. So they're thinking about how can we balance getting the efficiency with the upfront, but then saving some money for scatter, as well as moving some of those dollars into other more nimble channels like connected TV, digital targeted with TV data. So you're definitely on the right path. So what advice would you give to marketers that are struggling to figure out their strategy during this time?
It's pivoting. So as I mentioned, post-COVID, online is a norm. That's a new normal. For the marketing talent, for us, we are pretty lucky because we are in quite a good, knock on wood, quite a good, financial situation. So for me, it's really trying to figure out how do we look at marketing talent, thinking about deployment, but also development. There are lots of fantastic marketing talent in the market. So I'm certainly want to attract, the best marketing talents, continue to look for those best marketing talents. At the same time, also developing my internal marketing talent, particularly in the performance marketing and AI, commerce and tech stack, digital health standpoint. So in a nutshell is that how do you really, fully immerse yourself into the tech? So even for myself is, there's a trend. It's happened already 2 or 3 years ago from China and Korea and Japan. Is all the CEOs now become the host on live streaming. And I see that trend will happening, here in the United States very soon. And one of my friends actually is a CEO in China, and the 3 hours on TikTok in China, we call that Douyin. He sold $15 million. Right. So I think that as a marketeer, you are the extension of your brand. So, and we all need to stand up to say, and what is the best way to promote our brand, even including being a host.
That's right. We're all brand ambassadors for our companies. Right. So I couldn't agree more with that. So this is a panel and a day around female marketers. So what specific advice would you give to other female marketers right now? And also, when we were talking earlier this week, talking about being bold and taking risks, and what advice would you give to women on how they can be bold, take on new risks, take on new challenges?
I think being bold is not easy. I'm inherently introverted. So nobody actually believes in that. Because
I don't believe it.
I'm telling you the truth, I'm INTJ. It's not easy to be bold. So here's what I do. I think of practice. When you don't want to do something, you just have to push yourself extra hard. After 21 times, it becomes a habit. And the second thing is that every single time I go to a meeting, there's a bunch of people, very strong, opinionated. Here I am, English is my fourth language compared to a lot of my peers. Certainly I cannot speak as eloquently as people who are born here. But then what drives me is saying that this is my brand, this is my business. If I don't inject myself, I'd rather regret that the decision I made. So if somebody else made a decision for my brands and it turns out it did not turn out well, should I blame myself or blame other people, right? I want to be that person actually making the final decision for my brands together with my team. And that really, if my mind is occupied with that thinking, then suddenly I become bold. Right, so I push myself and practice, and 21 times later, it becomes habit. But then at the same time, always thinking, this is your business, and you want to make a decision for yourself, right? So that's the first one. The second one is everybody has that weak moment. So friends, colleagues are super, super important. You got to have that network. When the time when you are weak, I can come to you, Krista, say, hey, I had a bad day. This is, I feel really, really, stressed out. And you will say, no, it's okay. Let's have a glass of wine. Everything will be okay. And let's talk it out. So the friends, the people surrounding you, the relationship you build will help you, will give you the happiness, but also will help you at work. And last but not least is about, we got to continue to read and learn. I think that, no matter how much we know, we think we know our brands, we know our, products. I always found out whoever I talk to, I can always learn. Most recently, I was pretty stressed out working from home, on the call all the time. I came across this podcast talking about positive psychology. And it's so funny. I just listened to for 15 minutes. And now I have this habit. Every day I listen to different stuff, right? Including positive psychology. It really picked me up. So just summarize that. The first one is that you're going to push yourself 21 times. The second piece, the friends, relationship is super important. And you got to continue to learn and continue to read.
I couldn't agree more. I think I heard it once that you are the sum of the 5 people that you hang out with most. So choose wisely. And I really took that to heart, right? Like have people, one, that you can trust and have that glass of wine with and say, hey, I had a really bad day and I just need to talk to someone. But then also, I think really more importantly too, is having people that are going to push you outside of your comfort zone. I'm blessed to have an amazing support system. And whenever I'm scared to take on a new challenge or concerned about a strategy that I might be implementing, you know, it's always great to have those people that can say, you know what, I know you're scared, but you can do it and go for it and take that leap of faith. So I think that's tremendous advice. So last question before we go to Q&A, what inspires you?
Lots of things inspires me. I would say if I have to, you will notice that I like number 3 and 5. So I will offer you. The first one is that, again, if you don't remember anything, there's one thing, I would love to take away is how to be a helper. I have so many great bosses. One of the best bosses, this past weekend, I was texting him. His name is Jamie Medical. He was my boss when I went to work on Jell-O. I was marketing director on Jell-O. And, the business, we're working together, attending around the business. But then, the Oreo job came up. He told me he does not want me to move, but he thinks that given my background, given my love for New York City, he said, I think that it's better for you to move back to East Coast because I was in Chicago. But also we think that giving you a background will be really beneficial for Mondelez to give you an international background to help them build the business. And he actually recommended me to interview for Oreo job. Right. So, thinking back, he's just so selfless. Right. So he needs me to be there running Jell-O, but because he was thinking about my future, he actually, helped me to get the Oreo job. So, and for that, I'm forever, indebted to him, but almost every single boss I worked for. So, and that really propelled me to be a helper myself. The second piece is about, if you go to my Facebook or my Instagram, there are 3 words to describe. And to me, I truly believe in that everybody needs to be a lover, but also be trailblazer and unifier. Particularly in COVID, there are so many dividing between different countries, dividing between different race groups, dividing between the sexual orientation. And we're United States. We're supposed to be unified. So being a lover, trailblazer, and unifier. And last but not least, I would say we are happy to be, I'm happy to be in this industry, marketing industry. I'm happy to be at my level. So with great power comes with great responsibility. So those are the things every single day when I wake up is continue to inspire me. But obviously it's not waking up just thinking of 3 things, right? But throughout the time, that's again, it's almost engraved into my mind how I can continue to, just like my bosses helped me, how can I help other people? How can I continue to be a lover, trailblazer, and unifier? Because we have great power. And as a result, we have great responsibility to help the people, to help the team, but also help the broader marketing community and even elevate to the entire societal impact.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. So now we're going to turn it over to the audience, and we have a couple of questions here. So what is top of mind as you prepare for the back half of 2020? I think this is on a lot of people's minds, so I'm very interested to hear your answer to this one.
There's a lot of things we are doing. As a matter of fact, before this session, I'm just having a conversation with my, CFO talking about the forecasting. Forecasting is the biggest challenge for us. So what we are doing is actually we are playing scenario planning is a big one, right? So scenario planning for the back half, but also for 2021. Our business has a big portion it's very seasonal, right? So we're in cold and flu season, super important. We're saying that the first half we saw lots of people pantry loading. So what does that mean? What's the incrementality? What's true incrementality? So we actually plan the 3 scenarios. One scenario, we think about the programmatic scenario. Then there's one optimistic scenario, and there's one is relatively pessimistic. Because without scenario planning, it's very difficult to plan your supply chain, right? So I'm not only doing marketing, I'm actually running a business. So we have plans, everything, we have plans in Thailand, we have plans in UK, Mexico. So it's a global supply chain. So how do you actually making sure you have enough supply, but not too much supply ended with too much inventory and returns. So those are the things that we're planning. Obviously, we're also running for next year because the first quarter next year is also cold and flu season. If customer, they have too much inventory, then how do we, from marketing and sales standpoint, how do we help them sell through? But if they cannot sell through, what does that mean for Q1 next year, right? So those are things we're working on. For me, is the most important thing is really execution. The strategy is very clear. Our strategy, I have 200% confidence in terms of our vision and strategy. It's about the execution. It's about scenario planning. Because nobody knows that. Nobody has a crystal ball. Despite the fact that, we say we have crisis before, but not every single crisis is the same. We can say that the trend-wise may be similar, but how big it is, we don't know.
I couldn't agree more.
Does that answer the question?
That does. So this one is really interesting. What was your most challenging career shift, and how did you handle that challenge?
There are lots of actual challenges. So, going back to China, it's the best ever happened to me, but also it's a challenge. So I have to leave everything here in the United States and move into China. My mom was gravely ill. She had stage 4 cancer, a colon cancer. I'm the only child. So in China, the culture is really taking care of your parents. And so I actually resigned without without a job offer. But to me, again, as I mentioned, the first thing for me is that my professional life is always intertwined with my personal life. I truly believe that your personal life is so much more important because your happiness is not only draw from your work. So it was very difficult because I'm actually thinking that I'm very driven, ambitious. At that time, when I was 3 years younger. But thinking back, I made the best decision ever. I went back to China, and General Mills' offer came to me. So I would say that once you have anchored in your what's most important to you, everything will happen for you. I truly believe it. Is you and me had a conversation, right? I'm Chinese Catholic, but and that's throw in some Buddhism because my dad is Buddhist. But I truly feel everything happens in life. There's a reason for that, right? So it was difficult moving there, and then also coming back to the United States is also difficult because I truly love my team. In China, there's 6,500 people. I all build a relationship, but maybe not close to every single person in China, 6,500 people, but truly build this great team, leadership team. It's like a family. Really difficult to come back. And we are in a really trajectory to become even bigger, grow even faster.
Yep, I couldn't agree more. I think what we talked about the other day is the universe is conspiring for me, not against me.
That's right.
So next question here is, as leaders, you're always developing your abilities. What skills would you like your marketing team to develop this year?
This year is performance marketing. It's about tech. To me, as a marketeer, the creative excellence, I always tell my team, and they always, first one was my team always saying that, wow, Cynthia, it's not even China speed, you're China speed. You are Cynthia speed. I always say chop, chop, chop. But for first 90 days, you're going to make an impact. So to me, it's creative excellence is table stake. Every single person in marketing have to have creative, excellence. Now is to separate great marketeer from the normal marketeer is truly the understanding of the tech stack. So if you don't understand digital health, how do you run the DTC? How do you think about social commerce? I think it's going to be very, very difficult. I actually tried to learn coding myself. I did live streaming and selling my products in China 3 years ago. So it's not difficult. The question is that do you have a heart in it? And do you want to spend time to learn that?
Yes. Next question. I like this one because it's kind of, we talked about what's going to happen post-COVID, but thinking back to before all of this happened in the world, what were some of the big media and marketing trends you were excited about, and have those changed? Has your excitement around those trends changed at all?
There's so many different marketing trends. I would say that the paramount trend is still the digital piece of it. I think that so the digital, but also with the speed. I said that one of the companies in the United States, they were thinking about the curbside pickup for 18 months time, because every single company, they're going to have a perfect kind of roadmap. So I'm going to be stage 1 this, stage 2 this, stage 3 that. And when COVID hit us, 2 days they launched it. So it's about how do you do the digital commerce? How do you build the loyalty? How do you actually catch on to digital health and with the speed? Right? That's the only winning formula, and you're gonna get into that.
Great, thank you.